Hi, last time I finished up by screwing down the sections that have been mitered and will form the nosing. Now I need to cut a couple of curves to turn this section of a polygon into a section of a circle. So I waited till the morning and I cut the internal radius. I'll have a sweep up now and then cut the external radius. Let me show you here how I've set up to cut a segment of a circle with a radius of 2.3 meters. For your beam you need something that's going to be stiff horizontally. So I've used this piece of tongue and groove. For my fulcrum I'm using a 6mm piece of steel rod. On this occasion I only needed 5 different radiuses and I want them for the future as well, so I'm going to store this board when I've finished with it. So I've just drilled through in the correct places for my centre point. I've removed the router's base plate. I've copied the locations for the fixing holes onto a larger piece of ply. That gives me lots of support. It also means I can attach my beam to it. And where the bit's going to go through, I've cut a nice large circular hole with a Forstner bit. My pivot point goes into a hole in my floor. This is obviously my forced floor of ply. On top of that goes a spacer, which is the thickness of the material I'm cutting, and then a spacer which is the thickness of the base of the router. And because my beam's as long as it is, I've also put a little support in the middle of the beam, which is again thickness of the material I'm cutting and the thickness of the base plate for the router. I've completed the inside and outside curves of the nosing, and I've put a round over on the front outside of the nosing. Then, with the help of my wonderful wife Julie, we picked the whole thing up and flipped it over so I can now work on the underside. And that's no mean feat. This thing is 5 meters long, it's over 4 meters from end to end, and it's got 8 miter joints in it. So the next task now is to put a small round over on the underside front. After that I'll put a groove all the way around to take the curved riser. I don't have a track saw, so when it comes to cutting the risers I'm turning the veneer face ply upside down so I don't get any tear out, and I'm using a long straight edge to guide my saw. I've just placed in a piece of the veneered ply which is going to be the riser, and it fits quite nicely in that groove and it's actually bending quite easily into that curve. So I did wonder whether I might need to make some kerf cuts on the back of it, but it looks as if it's going to be absolutely fine. The finished staging needs to be supplied in 3 separate pieces for easy manoeuvrability. So now that I've completed all the major work on the nosing, I can cut it through in the 2 places where the separation needs to be. I've used my finest saw so as not to introduce a large gap here which would throw the look of the curve out. Now I can remove the sections of nosing for some hand sanding and finishing. With the nosing complete, I can now cut away all the excess from the baseboard and then make a copy that's going to be the top subfloor. I just cut straight the way through with a thin bit in the router. So that the top of the nosing finishes flush with the finished floor. Golly, try saying that when you're drunk. I have to create a rebate in the subfloor. Join me again very soon for more on this build. Cheerio. Please take a moment to like, comment and subscribe, and follow me on social media for extra photos and videos from the workshop. Cheerio.